Hi, I'm Adam Dotes, chef owner of Elwood Restaurant here in Fishtown, Philadelphia. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite underappreciated, underutilized cuts, which would be a shank, and in this case, venison shanks. Hi, I'm Chef Adam Dotes here at Elwood Restaurant in Philadelphia. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite cuts, underutilized cut, the shank. In this case, we're doing venison shanks. Now I got these from my mom's freezer. She probably from last year. Now one of the things I don't like is that some people just, if you take it to a processor, they'll just grind it, which I think is not really using its full potential, especially with all this silver skin tendons. They want to be braised for a long time. They'll break down, make a nice unctuous sauce at the end. So what you want to do, of course I thawed these out, wipe them off. Sometimes they're hair, depending on who skinned it, how you skinned it. There might be hair, it might be, especially around the end here. And so if you don't like the look of it, if you can't get it off, it's particularly dirty, you could always just saw it if you have a saw, or you can have the processor do it for you. You could ask them. But so I can have it thoroughly thawed out, leave it in the cooler overnight or a day or two. Get it as clean as possible. I like to wipe it down. If you think you have to rinse it off, but try to get that hair off. And like I said, I mean, these are pretty good because we always butcher our own deer, but if it's questionable, just cut it off. So what we're going to do is start searing them up. Okay, so here we'll start searing. So we got a wide pan, putting some oil in there, and I'm going to season these up on both sides. We're going to sear these shanks. So this is a pretty classic way to braise something, pretty standard. You're going to sear them, then you're going to put your liquid in there, and then you'll braise it. So that's what we're going to do. And also, there is lots of ways to do this, of course. Alternatively, if you have a crock pot, you could sear these first and put it in a crock pot, or you could not sear them, I guess, if you were so inclined, if you didn't have time or didn't want to, or didn't have the hood. It does have a lot of smoke, and it's very hot. So here, I'm putting them in. Let those sear. So now, pan's nice and hot. You see that? Making sure that oil's around. Yeah, there we go. So, just trying to arrange them. It's looking good. Yeah, so what you're going to do, you do the best you can. Sear them as best as you can. Sometimes it'll be hard, sometimes it'll be hot, fat, splattering, but I think it is worth it. It adds another layer of complexity to your shanks or any braised item that you do. And it does get loud. That's why it's hard to record there. So that's why I'm doing a voiceover here. But so you want to get them nice and seared. I try to sear what sides I can. It does get a little awkward. Okay, so now that we have our shanks seared to our liking, I turned off the flame underneath so I can pour my red wine in without hoping it doesn't flame up. And we got our stock now this stock is super concentrated, which I'll explain a little later, but So this stock we're going to put in next, super concentrated, and then we're going to let all of this come up to a boil. Turn that flame back on, let it come up to a boil, and then we're ready for the next step. Okay, so now we're boiling. Took a couple minutes. So what we're going to do next is transfer all this into a pan. Now you could, if it fits in your oven, of course, you could just wrap the whole thing up, cover it if you have a tight lid, or if you wanted to use aluminum foil, you could just cover this in the pot, or say you did it in a cast iron, put that nice Dutch oven lid on top. But in this case, I'm going to put it in another pan. So we'll arrange it in this pan, and then we're going to pour the liquid on top of it. Have a little bouquet garni in there. So that's thyme, peppercorns, bay leaves, your favorite spices, favorite herbs. So now let me talk about that stock. So now, like I said, my stock is super concentrated. I'm in a professional kitchen here. So it's super concentrated, and has a lot of all this already in the vegetables and stuff. Now you could, if like let's say you didn't have stock, you just had water, you could put your carrots in there, you could throw onions in there, you could throw some celery in there, and that'll be fine too. It would help flavor your stock. Like I said, I already have all that in my stock already. So you want to get it to be about halfway up, however much meat you have. Put the liquid about halfway. If you don't have enough liquid, you can always add a little water or a little more red wine. So now I like to wrap it tight in some aluminum foil. And then we're going to put this in an oven, about 350 degrees. And it'll take about probably 3 hours or so, depending on your oven, depending on if you have other stuff in the oven. So here we're taking it out. We're going to check it out. This is 3 hours. So we're going to be very careful, especially if we have a super tight seal. See that steam coming out? That's very hot. So we're going to check our shanks. They smell so good. See, you're poking that knife right through. That's what you want to see. See how that meat there is falling off it? See how it's already hanging? My hand's in the way. See that there? So that's what you're looking for. So you're going to let that cool. I like to let it cool in the liquid. And so we let it cool. Then we'll cover it up, and then we can put it in the refrigerator. So these are cold, left overnight. Now I'm going through this fat here, seeing how it looks. If it's super hard, you can just take it right off. Now what we're doing here is we're going to take the shanks, put them in another container, take all that liquid that's solidified, and we're going to bring it up to a boil. So we're going to make our sauce. So we got our sauce back up to a boil, and we're making a roux. So we're going to put our flour in. So we're doing a classic roux here. We're going to have flour, butter, and then we're going to brown it up so we keep our brown sauce. Okay. Put some more flour in. So what you want to do, you want to be very careful because this stuff does get very hot. And you're going to keep stirring it with the heat on, and then it'll start browning. Start getting nutty. a nutty smell to it, roasted smell. It'll turn brown. I mean, if you keep going, it'll be black, like the old New Orleans black roux they use, which is good for other applications also. But it's a good technique to have. Okay, so here's a couple minutes later. I don't know if the camera's picking it up quite as well, but it's brown. It's getting darker brown every second goes by. It smells amazing. I love that smell. So we're ready to start making our sauce here. So continually whisking, and remember it's really hot. But now we're going to strain that sauce or the stock, the braising liquid we had. We're going to strain that into this roux. Now it's going to be extremely hot, so turn off your flame and be careful. Stand away from it as you do it. I'm straining it through this strainer here. As you'll see, yeah, see that boiling? It's going to boil right up. So be careful. And then you want to start stirring again. You keep stirring. And so then you'll turn the flame back on and you will basically simmer it. Now let it come down. It's super hot now, but it'll come down. You want to keep stirring and you want to simmer that then for a couple minutes. About 5 minutes. And then we can strain it again just to make sure our sauce is nice and smooth. Okay, so now we're going to season this up. And then we are almost ready to serve. What we got to do next, reheat our shank. So we're going to pop that in a pan, cover in foil, a little water in there, and we're going to heat that shank up. Now I'm just going to do one. We'll save the rest for later. But then we're almost ready to eat. So here we have our venison shank, braised. We heated it back up. Now we're ready to serve. So we have our beautiful shank sauce. Pour some over that. It looks so good. Okay, let's dig in here. So we got our, oh, that looks nice. So we got our beautiful pieces of meat here. Picking up off the bone. Pour that sauce. Just like Grandma used to, right over the mashed potatoes. A true delicacy on a cold day, winter day. That's so good. Super rich. That sauce we made, all that gelatin, tendons, they all dissolved into that sauce. Super unctuous, super delicious. So if you have some, you get a harvest this year, venison, try doing a little shank, try braising it, a little basically venison pot roast. Thanks for watching. See you next time.